Hello. How are you doing
G'day.
today?
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Today we're chatting about networking opportunities, and a while back you got to kind of re-go into one with a Story Brand Business Made Simple Summit.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just really interesting to think about like now that the world is a little bit starting to go back to normal and
Whatever
things are
whatever
events
normal
and
is.
summits, yes, whatever the new normal is, it's starting to happen.
Yeah,
Um, it's good for people to remember like what to do and how to get back into networking and like showing up in person and making the most out of an event. I think a lot of us have kind of forgotten this is what we should be doing and this is how we
sure.
can prepare and all that jazz. So
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be great for us to kind of chat through some of that today. I know you always make the most out of networking events, and I feel like you walk away with like 16 new friends and a new partner relation, like a new business partner
totally.
for us, and then like 20 sales opportunities. So I'd love to kind of talk through that a little bit, and like some recommendations that you have.
For sure. First of all, I'm like was really weird to like go from Zoom for a year and a half or whatever and then be in the same room. It was a different like, oh yeah, what is this like? I felt afterwards I felt like overwhelmed and because we did the first time or the first day, it was like an evening reception thing. So it was like 2 hours or something like that. And so like, but I just remember leaving that, after being on a plane, all those things, I just felt like totally tapped. I'm just exhausted. Like you're going, that was a lot of like input, a lot of people. I'm not used to this. I'm used to logging on your best self for 60 minutes and then you leave or whatever. So it was definitely
Mhm.
something to get used to for sure. But I really enjoyed it. It was super fun. I think the first thing that I would say I didn't go in as prepared as I wished I would have. So this is more a reflection on it, was more so just like the right headspace. And so like
Mhm.
making sure you're walking into that room or showing up at the event. And, if it depends on, everybody's wired a little bit different. And some people are crazy extroverted, some people are crazy introverted, some people are introverted, but they come across as they're extroverted, whatever.
Mhm.
And all sorts of shapes and sizes to all that. But it's also, I feel like it is really important to enter the right headspace going into it, as far as like coming into the room confident, coming into the room with, questions that you might ask, or just feeling prepared as far as, hey, I know some of these people here, or, sometimes you just have to prepare yourself to get out of your comfort zone,
Mhm.
versus like just showing up and man, I hope hope it happens when I get there. That might not necessarily go super well. And so for me, I felt like I could have done a better job just getting into the right headspace, because I kind of like, you check in, whatever. And then I like walked up the stairs and it was like instant overload of, oh my word, this is a lot of people. And some people, I live in the state of Washington, so maybe I'm just kind of weird. We all are over here. But, and I haven't been in those kind of environments lately. And so some of people probably listen to this have been. But I think it's great, like reminder to like go, hey, how do you think through as you enter into that space the same way that you would if you're like,
Mhm.
prepping for a meeting, you might think about what you're
Yeah.
actually going to talk about or topics you're going to cover or whatever. Or if you're getting ready for a sporting event or something like that and you're going to play, like you're thinking about how you're going to approach that or whatever. So it's not really any different than that. But I'd say it's also super important to think through it versus just show up and hope all goes well. So
One of the things that I've I'm not embarrassed to admit, but I think it's entertaining to admit. There's a book by Amy Cuddy called Presence, and it talks about like when you're nervous about something or you're
hmm,
anxious, like do something that gets you excited.
yeah,
And I remember like before I used to go to networking events, like I would just rock out in my car on the way there to some
yeah,
song that I love and just like sing it and just like show up. And then I would just be in the right headspace. And
yep,
I also remember too, I think Simon Sinek said it. Excited and nervous are the exact two emotions, just has to do with how you look at it. They're the
yeah.
exact same feelings. Your body does the same thing.
Mhm.
So instead of being nervous, be excited. Um,
But that's good. I
and
haven't heard
I
that. That's
like
really good.
Oh, I love that. I think about it all the time because networking events and opportunities actually like I don't love them.
Yeah, sure.
I'm probably one of those introverted people. I am one of those introverted people that some people think is an extrovert and I can, look like it, but I
Sure.
just don't always love meeting new people. But when I realize like the opportunity that's there, then that's
Yeah.
really when I want to do it. So absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned too, like it's important to be outgoing when you go to these things
Mm.
and when you network, but like outgoing doesn't just mean like a drunk guy at a sporting event. Like
Yeah,
outgoing
totally.
means something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
yeah.
have to show up a certain way. You have to do certain things. Like what does it actually mean? And
Yeah,
especially in this environment, like to be outgoing.
totally. And it's not like, oh my gosh, you have to be the life of the party. Like, no, you don't. Really, you don't. Please don't, because most of the time, no one likes those people. I shouldn't say that. That's probably kind of mean. It's most, yeah, it depends on who they are. But if they are the drunk guy, they're kind of like, this is a little over the top. I would say like outgoing for me means more so like a headspace or mind space of like taking initiative. And so
Mhm.
not being the guy that just stands in one place the entire time and hopes people come and talks to them, but actually like going and talking to people, like getting yourself out of your comfort zone if that's not part of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's part of like I said earlier, that first one of like just preparing for something like that. But I think I, honestly, like I feel like for me, what's been helpful is just being like taking initiative, going and talking to people, asking questions, and then like having something you're gonna do. And so like so for me, it's like if it's a all day thing, like during the beginning, my goal is to find 5 people to go to lunch with that I don't know, or maybe I know them kind of, but like, and I kind of have a rough plan. And so it's like I'm gonna invite them. Oh yeah, we didn't get to finish our conversation, but do you have plans for lunch? Oh, you do? No worries, sounds good. We'll catch up later. Oh, you don't? Awesome, let's go. And then oftentimes I'll go out to lunch with 5 or 6 people that I don't really know very well. I need to eat anyway because I like food and I like to eat. And they probably need to eat as well. And so it's like, this is really easy. It's usually pretty chill. There's multiple people. So it's not just this awkward one-on-one where you hope you like the person and can talk to them for 20 minutes or a half hour or whatever. But so it's usually pretty just natural and easy. Or it's like
Mhm.
a happy hour afterwards or a dinner thing, or, hey, are you going to the after event? Do you want to meet up, 30 minutes before and get a drink, or like, those types of things to where you've got like some sort of a plan that you're trying to move people into. And I know that sounds like
Mhm.
super weird, but at the same standpoint, for me, it's helped me like actually build. I'm like some people are wired of like, oh, I want to go, I want to know 500 people. And I'm more of a wired of like, I kind of want to know 5 people or maybe 10
Mhm.
like that. I'm kind of more of a small group ish type of a person that I'd rather like go deeper into that smaller group than surface level know 100 people or 10,000 people. There isn't one that's better than the other. I just know that about myself. And so I know that I'll be at my best if I'm in a smaller group of, say that like that 5 or 6 people that you ask to go out to grab a drink or get lunch with or dinner with, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so I think like as far as like that outgoing piece, and again, I'm not the life of the party. I did not jump off any tables or dance on the stage or any of those types of things. It's just more so like
Not what I heard. No.
whatever. Uh, I would just say it's more so just like be taking initiative and going and talking to people, or
Mhm.
like it's super funny, but like I can stare at the line lined up for the bar or the whatever, the open bar or whatever it is that's in the corner, and
Mhm.
I can tell you the people that are outgoing and people aren't. The people that aren't are faced forward, they're not moving, and they're just hands in front of them. And then the people that aren't are like turned around, they're talking to people beside of
Mhm.
them, they're striking up conversation. And none of them is wrong or right. I just go, for me, if I'm going to fly across the country and be in a room of 150 people or whatever it was, I'm going to
Mhm.
get the most out of it, because a lot of the reason you
Mhm.
go is to be around other people. And so like I think it's just taking initiative, and that's going to mean something different for everybody. It doesn't mean take a play out of my playbook or a book somebody else you read or something like that. It's
No,
like be
but
yourself and be genuine.
yeah, I really like that. And even it reminds me of like growing up when we would go to church gatherings or events, my parents would be like, you need to talk to 2 elderly
Yeah.
people today and 1 person like this today.
Yep.
And I'd be like, okay, like there might be 150 people here, but I only have to talk to 3 people and I know what I got to do. And then I can like check it off my list.
Totally.
And it's like the same for you. Like there might be 1,000 people in a room or 150 people in a room. But if you know, all right, these are like the 5 things that I need to do to like make the most out of this event. These are the people that I need to meet. It makes it a lot easier. And it's less overwhelming when you can just get it to be those like, these are the things the people that I need to meet.
Yeah.
Which leads me into my next question,
Oh
actually.
gosh. Okay. All right.
Who should you try to connect with at networking events? Like what relationship should you try to drive forward?
That's a great question. Because I think it's so funny because I could answer this and also then kind of like I would say, oh yeah, I was wrong though about those 5 things. Um, because you never really know, to be honest. Like you just don't know what conversation leads to whatever, or or whatnot, or
Mhm.
what, maybe it's a business relationship or a vendor thing or a connection to another thing or whatever. Like you don't really know. So I don't feel like I have like these really tight kind of boundaries or, oh, you have to talk to anyone with the letter L in their name, or like I don't have any of the weird things like that. I think probably more so I honestly will try to find people like if like geographically sometimes is interesting to like go, oh yeah, they live in my part of the country or whatever. That's
Mhm.
sometimes interesting. I feel like for me, like a focus has been to like meet people that are different than me. So that could be look different, talk different, wear different
Mhm.
clothes, whatever that might be, and that's just mostly been for me to get myself out of my comfort zone or out of just the normal for me of like a lot of people I hang out with look like me, talk like me. And so how do you figure out how to like kind of diversify that a little bit? So I think that's been something like I feel like that was really fun for me to connect with people there. And then I would say people that are in a similar scenario than you is sometimes great to connect with. And so I spent a
Yeah.
fair amount of time with people that run an agency and have employees and are trying to figure that out. And oftentimes it's just more that you can relate on than maybe someone that does this part-time or just getting into it or whatnot. They're not bad. It's just I felt like at least on this last trip, I got more out of those types of relationships because we were in a very similar playing field to start conversations with and stuff. So I don't know. Does that make? Would you?
You know what
What do you
I
do?
love?
You've done to a lot of these.
Well, I was just gonna say what I loved about all the things you said is you didn't talk about drumming up business,
Oh yeah, if you're gonna
or
try to
I
do that,
want
you're gonna
to
people will
have,
see through it and like run from you. So
or like I want to connect with this person because I need this from them. Like it literally was all about just making connections and getting to know people to expand who you know
yeah,
and make yourself better as a human being, not drive business. And I
totally.
think when it comes to networking opportunities and events, like you need to have that thought. Um, because if you like people are totally going to see through it.
Yeah,
And it's not a speed dating
yeah,
event. It's you're together because you have something in common and you can help each other out, but it doesn't always necessarily relate to revenue dollars, even though in the long run it really can. And I think like for me when I go to networking events, like I try to find two kinds, like there are two kinds of people that I try to find. Number one, I try to find somebody that can help make me better as a person.
hmm,
So if that's a connection, if that's somebody that can be a mentor, if that's somebody that I can even as a speaker that I know I really need to learn from and follow them online if I'll never get to meet them, or I'll try to find somebody that I can connect with and I can help grow and I can help develop. Because
yeah,
unfortunately, I'm at that part of my career where I'm old enough now that I can help other people too.
sure,
And
yeah,
I know you do that as well. Like you go to these events and you meet people and you can help them. So I try to kind of find people in those two buckets.
yeah. No, I think it makes sense, and I would say a follow up to that would be like if like anybody that's listening to this, think about a relationship you have, and then tell me if it would have worked if it was just a one-way street, like a one-way relationship. And like there's been no relationships I think I've ever had that have just been one
Mm-hmm.
direction, like one direction. It's like it's all
Right.
give or it's all take. Like you don't like that doesn't work that way. So I feel like I had a great one that happened this last week where I was talking to this guy. I've known him for a couple of years. We've been in passing and talked and hung out a couple of different times and exchanged Slack messages and whatnot here and there. And he just took a CMO job at like specifically for a marketing company that does work with franchise car washes. And you'll
Mm-hmm.
know where this one's going because we have worked with a couple of different people, or at least in the sales process with a couple of different
Mm-hmm.
people. And I was like, I just was asking questions because I was genuinely cared about what he was doing. I was like, wow, what are you doing now? Like, this is different than what you have been doing. And so like, I literally was like, oh, I have someone that I think I need you to connect you with. So then I literally made a note really fast on my phone to follow up with this person when I got back. And on Friday, I sent a note and connected those two, and we'll see where it goes. Who knows? But I didn't do that specifically because I wanted something from him or I wanted something from the prospect that we've been talking to. I just did it because man, what they do and what
That's
this
awesome.
person needs is way more connected than what we could try to do
Mm-hmm.
because I really needed the business, and then I hope that they pay us. And I don't know if we can do it as good as him because he's done it hundreds and hundreds of times, but we really want the business. And you're like, no, I think you guys need to talk. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, and whether or not anything comes out of that or not, I have no idea. And in some ways, I don't know if I really care, and I won't take tabs or keep score or whatever. But I think that's honestly like been really fun for me. It's fun to try to make those connections and introduce people, and you just never know who's going to do the same for you later on. So it's,
I like
part
that.
of clear messaging. It's part of, hey, what do you do? And actually have a quote unquote pitch for what you do, because otherwise you're never going to know like who's going to connect you later on of, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
recall in your brain, I remember Tyler does this
Mm-hmm.
or Amanda does this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to connect people. So anyway, that was a relationship's two directional, and it always is, or all the good ones are. And so there's something where you're able to give to them, and then something
Mm-hmm.
where they give to you. And
Mm-hmm.
that could be 20 years from now, it could be 2 days from now, it doesn't matter, and don't keep score. But I would say those are the best ones. So
I love that. All right, last question.
yeah.
You kind of already answered some of this, but what happens after you get home from an event?
Oh my word, I have so much
What do you
follow-up.
do?
I take so many notes. I would say I had 25, maybe 20 or 25 follow-up things. They were from anything from, hey, I need to connect this person because they talked about a project that they thought we might be good on, all the way to in a small group that I was broke out into, we were talking about people management and all those types of things. And I was like, oh, I should send him this document that we came up with. That was a process that we've used, and see if that's helpful for them, and just passed it to him. And so, I mean, I probably literally had 20 or 25 follow-ups, and they were all across the board. So like I mentioned earlier, I just take out my phone and take quick notes. Sometimes I do it at the end of the day. Sometimes I'll do it like the first 5 minutes when I sit down, like a keynote or whatever starts, because oftentimes that's not the fun part or the boring part. So I'll just like knock out a couple of quick, reminders or tasks that I need to follow up on. But I think that's super important. You'll get home and you won't remember anything because you'll jump straight back into email and Slack and regular life. And so like having the ability to remember to follow up with people, I think is super important. So figuring that out, it's different for everybody. Some people have a notebook or whatever, but mine's tasks in Asana on my phone.
I love that. Well, I want to go to a networking event right now.
Yes.
After our talking.
Absolutely. So. Well, I already know you, so I probably won't talk to you, and we shouldn't go out for lunch. So. I'm just kidding.
I already have what I need from you. I'll see you later.
Thank you. All right. I love it. Thanks, Amanda.